Welcome back to another episode of the Freedom Kickstarter podcast. So, got a really cool guest with us today. We have Mark Simpson. So, as always, I will turn it over to the guest to give us their elevator pitch. So, Mark, welcome to the show. And do you want to tell people a bit about yourself and what you do?
Yeah, thanks for having me. So my name is Mark Simpson. I founded a company called Boostly, which is short for Boost Hospitality, nearly 10 years ago now, back in 2016. Started out of Scarborough, where I was born. I'm born in a farm stay hospitality accommodation business. It was a 200-acre farm. Parents turned it in from a working farm into a accommodation back in the 80s, and I've just grown up in hospitality since. 2001, I wanted to escape Scarborough, my little town, the little bubble that is Scarborough in the United Kingdom. So went traveling around America coaching football. Did that for 10 years. Came back to the UK. Ended up in London working at Quipe, which was bought by Yelp, doing sales and marketing for them. And then found myself back in the family business a couple of years later when we had our first kiddie. And me and my wife and little Alfie were there for 4 or 5 years, helped that hospitality business get online, do all those things. And during that process, I realized there was a bit of a need for help within our industry for other hosts who needed help with marketing, like emails and social media. So that's where the idea of Boostly came from. And we just went from there. And 8 years later, 4 kids now, just under 1,000 clients around the world. We do web design, education and sort of e-learning, as well as doing like the web design sort of thing. And we're just sort of slowly, steadily growing every year, which is cool.
Love it. And actually, I didn't know that Boostly was a hybrid of Boost Hospitality. So
yeah, it's my wife who gave me that name. I was really struggling. Like I was literally at the kitchen table with ideas of like drawing shitty logos and like the idea of Boost Hospitality was like boost your hospitality business. And she just looked over my shoulder and was like, that's Boostly. I was like, oh, sound. And the domain was there, trademark was there, snapped it up, and Boostly ever since.
Nice, amazing. So what does a typical day look like for you at the moment? What kind of things do you do? What do you help people with? Talk us through that.
Yeah, so I'm very much build the whole business to be around the kids and the family life. That is what I've done since day one. So my typical day, wake up at 6 when I've got 4 kids under the age of 12, so they wake me up very early, get them off to school. My whole team, and I've got 32 team members, we're all remote, all around the world, mostly in like Philippines and whatnot. So I normally jump on a Zoom call, and we have a 2-hour Zoom call session with them from 9 till 11, just making sure that they're getting work done. We're talking about that before. And then at 11 o'clock, stop. It's mostly then reactive work, whatever comes in overnight. And then probably I'll go through till 2, stop, get the kids, and then that's pretty much what a working day looks like. Mondays and Wednesdays, because a lot of my audience is in America. Mondays and Wednesdays, once I got the kids to bed, about 8:30, I'll do podcasts, or we'll do webinars and things like that for like that sort of time zone. And that is pretty much Monday to Thursday what a day-to-day looks like. Fridays, I always take it off. Have done for ever since we had the business, just because I was like, well, if I'm running my own business, I want to work the days that I want to work. So Friday, Saturday, Sunday off. And the whole sort of the way that I run it has been very much built around like the kids and the wife and that.
Nice. So going from scratch to, did you say 32 employees?
Yeah, it was 60 like this time last year. Well, this time a couple of months ago, and I've just trimmed it, which had to be done. But yeah, it's 32 at the moment, all contractors. Again, we've got majority in the Philippines, and then we've got sales teams in America, basically.
Got it. I'm sure there's many stages to this, but what's been the process then from going from this like idea that you had doing logos at your kitchen table to having a team of now 32 all around the world? Like how, because a lot of people get into this, and especially if they're in a copywriting type business, where they might run their business for 10 years, but it's still just them and a laptop 10 years later. So how have you managed to scale to that level?
You know, I think because I'm in it and I'm still in the business, I haven't really had a chance to look back and just go, oh, that was the moment. But there's, it's funny, like the reason why we've got 32 is because we do website design. And in a project, you've got your project manager, you've got your dev, and you've got your support team, and you've got, so we do API integration, so we've got an API people as well. And I learned this through our mutual contact, Tager. He goes, you got to have like blocks of people. So you can't just have 5 people doing 100 projects at once. You got to like, you get a certain amount of projects in, and then you'll just get the next batch of people. And that's how we've grown it. It started with me behind a kitchen table, and I was doing, I would say, e-learning more than what I was doing website design. But we got to like our first 100, 200 members who were doing the like the academy, I called it at the time. And a large majority of them were saying, the training's pretty cool, but the problem is my website's crap. And I was like, well, I started to recommend website designers, but they didn't really get it because it was like the hospitality booking journey is very different to whether you're booking like a PT or whatever, right? So the website designers I were recommending, they weren't hitting the mark. And it was just one of those sort of light bulb moments where I was like, well, I can do a website. And it turns out I can't do websites. I'm crap at doing websites. I had a go. It was on WordPress. It was shocking. But in 2017, me and the wife, and we had 2 kids, we sold our house that we had after we started at Boostly, and we had about 15 grand extra profit from selling the house. And so we thought, well, fuck it, let's go traveling. Boostly was 100% remote. We didn't have to be anywhere. And so we went to Bali, and while I was at Bali, I met this guy. He was from Yorkshire. We stayed at this place for a month. He was doing a work away there. He's an ex-Ibiza DJ, hated the life of Ibiza, went to Bali, but he was really good at design, really good at doing websites. And when I had to go to a website, when I got back to England and I was shocking at it, I was still in touch with him on WhatsApp, and I said, could you ever go at this? And within an hour, he'd produced a stunning website. This lady paid me like 500 quid, and I goes, yeah, I'll give you 200. I'll keep the rest. And we'll just keep doing that. And 200 quid in Bali in 2017 was amazing. And we just kept doing that. And she told somebody else, that person told somebody else, as word of mouth grew. And before you knew it, we had like, I'd say a couple of 100 websites that we're doing. And I was like, you can't do this all yourself. Let's just get somebody. So we went on Fiverr. Went to Upwork, and we found somebody. They joined our team, and it's just slowly been adding it along. And it got to a point where we had like 400 projects on the go at once. And this is when I started to reach out to like people like Tager a bit more. I was like, can you help us with recruitment? I can't do this by myself. And just over time, I've just brought people in. And I value my time so much that I never wanted it to get in the way of the more people we bring in. I didn't want to be doing the work. And so I sacrificed the money that I could have made to get my time, to keep my time as very little after work as possible. And so that meant outsourcing, that meant bringing in contractors, that meant by bringing in all these peoples. And, you know, it got to a point where I brought in an MD and a COO, and people were running it. And I sort of really escaped out of the business. And I turned around and looked at it, and I was like, shit, we've got 60 people here that we give money to every month to do boostliness behind the scenes. You know, and that has its pros and its cons, obviously, but it was not done by design. This is my first business I've ever had. I'm just making it up as I go along. There's not been like a set structure of this is how we do all these things to get to it. It's just got to this point. And I still sort of like, when I say to people, we've got 32 members of our team now, they look at me like, that's a lot. But it's just... you know, it is what it is. We've got all these things, all these projects that we need to do.
It's interesting because I think that's a great example of the fact that you didn't try and manufacture demand. You found what the market wanted and went and served that need. Whereas a lot of people think, I've got this amazing thing that I can offer people. I'm going to go out and find the customers for it, which is, to me, much more hit and miss than going, okay, I've got a group of people here who I'm giving them one thing. They're telling me we need something else. Maybe not consciously, but I'm seeing they need it. We can then fulfill that demand. Do you think that was a conscious thing for you, or has it literally just been like taking each step as it comes and just doing the next stage as you've gone?
Yeah, it's definitely the latter. It wasn't where I was like, to be fair, the websites that we do, it's WordPress, it's Elementor, it's very basic, but we're not reinventing the wheel. You know, we just found something, and and one of the bits of advice that I learned very early on from doing all of this, somebody said to me, you got to bury yourself so far down in a niche that there's room for nobody else. And so I could have quite easily said, oh, we do website design. and that could be to the broad of everybody. But I didn't stay at that surface level. I buried really far down. So then I went hospitality. Then I went short stay accommodation. Then I went even further down on that, where I go, well, we work with people that have got 2 properties up to 20 properties. And when you look at the Airbnb world, so if you go to just Airbnb, there are 7 million listings on that platform. Out of 7 million listings, there are 3 million hosts. And of those 3 million hosts, 82% of them take up that 1 to 15 property portfolio. They'll either be owners, or they'll do rent to rent, or they'll do the management company. So I'm like, there's all these millions of people sat in there, and they are so reliant on this one platform called Airbnb for their bookings. And if anybody's ever run a business ever before, you know that you don't put all of your eggs in one basket. You don't go, I'm going to start this business and I'm going to have 100% of my revenue come in on Facebook ads. Because you know that literally like that, it could stop. And that's common business talk. So I went into this world where majority of people, the reason why they get into this industry is that they'll maybe have a spare house that they'll shot it up on Airbnb, or there'll be a management company that's looking after 2 people's properties, and they'll just accidentally grow. Just like how I've accidentally grown, they'll accidentally grow. And before they know it, they've got 20 properties on Airbnb out of, say, Norwich. And they're like, wow, I am doing this. It's all on Airbnb. I want to grow a business, but I don't know how to do it. And I come in and go, well, here's a website. So you first and foremost, you're directing all the traffic here. And then not only do we build the website, and this was our unique selling point, is that we go, this is the education around it as well. So this is how you do step A, step B, step C. It's all in our training program. We do twice a week coaching calls. And then we've just attached tools on to this thing. So it really makes us sticky. Because the problem with the training company, when we had just training, we were charging like, what, 50 quid a month, like a very basic membership model. But like with any membership model, they sign up for the first month and they're all excited, really happy. Second month comes along, they get the second invoice come out on the Stripe account, and it's like, I haven't really done out this month. I'm starting to feel a little bit, is this worth it? Third month comes along and they haven't done anything. They'll go, I'll cancel that instantly. So I was like, how do I make this product, what I'm doing, more sticky? Because I don't like this whole feast and famine thing that I'm experiencing. So the website thing to me just made an absolute ton of sense, because when you get a website, you never really leave it. You don't really leave that company. And I could do the host and I could do all of that in there, and I could start having that, that thing called monthly recurring revenue. And that was just like the natural progression. Plus, people were asking for it. So it was a combination of things that came to it, and we could spin out a website easy enough. I wasn't charging a lot, and the training meant that they stuck around. And then we've just added like things like a CRM that we've white labeled from Go High Level and things into it. So it just makes it an unbelievably sticky product. And then the price for that monthly rate has just gone up and up and up over time to where we're just sat at now $100. So that's been the progression.
I've certainly seen it from my side of things, whereby a lot of the time people have that idea of, if I have, as you said, a monthly subscription thing that's £50, $50, it's cheap and people will stay. It doesn't really happen, because I think often the more you give people, the better results they get. And when they're getting results, then you can charge them more. So actually, it's sometimes that generic cliche advice we just brush off. But when you charge people more and get them a better result, they want to hang around. And people don't hang around because something's cheap. They hang around because something's good value.
Yeah.
And so you can have a cheap £50 membership site or an expensive £500 one. But if people are getting results on that £500 one, that's what they're going to stick to.
Yeah. And I've learned that lesson as well. I mean, when I first started, I definitely, maybe it's a northern thing, maybe it's just like my upbringing, but I come from a very, a Yorkshire farming family where, you save your pennies to get to your pound sort of thing. And I think definitely my biggest mistake starting this business is I definitely charged way too little for what, and I think it's a common fault with most business owners first time around, is that you charge far too little. And I definitely fell into that trap. And as you grow, you want to attract, the right clients, the ones that you want to work with. I'm a big Mike Michalowicz fan, and he talks about the crush and the cringe clients. And I had this lesson last year. I put my prices up, and I knew I was gonna have a churn on it, but I had to do it. We went to 60 members of team. Our service costs were going through the roof, but I still, for my legacy clients, the price was like $5 a month. It was so low, or I wasn't even charging them. We had 2,000 people on our server, and when we did the audit on it, it was like 1,000 of them weren't even paying. I was like, oh, for fuck's sake, what the fuck am I doing? Right? And so I on purposely put the prices up for a number of reasons. One, if I hadn't done, Boostly wouldn't have been here 2025. Two, it was to make sure that to move to the next step forward, I want to make sure that the people that are in our world, A, want the service, B, are using the service, and C, are actually getting results from it. And everybody that has left, that's absolutely fine and fair. There was a bit of a kick-off online about it, but it's what we needed to do. And I feel like it was a massive part of our growth was seeing our true worth in what we do. Putting the price up to $100, £100 a month was big, but we didn't just put it up. We added even more services and tools in there. So, yeah.
How do you find the hospitality sector to work with? Because it's one of those where when we talk about lucrative niches, it's certainly in the copy space, we throw around things like supplements, the finance market, the biz op market, the coaching market. And then there are markets people say, oh, it's very difficult to sell to those. So what's hospitality like in that respect? Do you find you have to do a lot of objection handling, or are people very investment minded?
So the problem with what our industry is and what we do as vendors is we're selling a B2B product to a B2C consumer. And when you have that, doesn't matter what niche you're in, you always are going to come up with objections. Right now, nearly 10 years on, it is so much easier selling our service than when I first got going. When I first got going, I literally had to drag people by the scruff of their collar to trust me. Because again, I was this young, like early 30s. I was mostly selling to people in the UK, and the UK mindset buying is so different. The European mindset is so different to the US buying. And we spoke about this before, where I feel like in the US that it is more about, they believe in investment a whole lot more. It's why they go to all these conferences, why they travel around that country, going to all these things. It's probably why 80% of our customers are based out of the US and in Canada, because they are much more investment minded. Here, they look at everything as a cost in the UK and Europe, and there's no like right or wrong. I mean, we have, I love working with UK and European clients as much as I do in the US. But the hospitality industry in itself is, it's funny, 2016, 2017, 2018, 2019, I spoke about what we did and the beauty of direct bookings. And every single time people were like, yep, sound, but Airbnb. Yep, sound, but Airbnb. Got to 2020 when there's this thing called COVID and this whole lockdowns, and Airbnb was shutting down accounts left, right, and centers. They were like, "Oh yeah, direct bookings." So, when I do look back on this journey, whenever it is that I decide to pack it all in, there's going to be these hockey stick sort of moments in our growth. COVID was 100% one. Main reason being is that most tourism shut down, but there was a huge increase in people needing to stay for like months, or businesses or workaways or whatever it was for that. But B, people use that sort of break to go, well, I'm so reliant on Airbnb. They've literally closed my whole calendar out and I couldn't do anything about it. I want to make sure that when we reopen, I'm multi-channel. So I'm on booking.com, Expedia, Airbnb, but I've also got my own direct element as well. And I just positioned ourselves really well at that time to be the forefront when anybody, because now nobody walks around saying, oh, I'm going to go stay at a booking.com. No one walks around saying I'm staying at a Verbo, but everyone says I'm staying at an Airbnb. So Airbnb have done so well these last sort of 15 years to position themselves as the verb of short-term rentals. I said, well, how do I do that for Boostly when anybody thinks of direct bookings? And that's what we positioned ourselves to be. Obviously, COVID was massive for that because I went live pretty much every night and drove a lot of traffic ourselves that way. And then when Clubhouse was a thing, I was on Clubhouse pretty much every day as well when we were doing that. And again, through Clubhouse, it opened me to so many avenues in America and whatnot as well.
Yeah, one thing I love about your positioning is the anti-Airbnb stance and how I see that in what you do. And I think it's missing in a lot of people's marketing is having a common enemy. And it doesn't need to be like just throwing shit at other companies. It doesn't need to be insulting. You just need to highlight a problem with the other solution. And so one thing, I mentioned this to you before, but I thought it'd be cool to talk about is some of the anti-Airbnb stuff you've done, particularly a certain billboard, I believe.
Yeah. So when it comes to this, and I totally agree, I read it was Story Brand by Donald Miller, and that book really stuck to me. And it's like in a story, you've got the hero, you've got the guide, and you've got the villain, and every story needs a good villain. And I think most business owners, and I definitely fell into this trap. I pictured myself as the hero when I'm not the hero, I am the guide, and the hero is the customer, and then it needs a villain. And I just saw this Airbnb, and I love Airbnb. I book on Airbnb. I love the story, Brian Chesky, and all of that, but it needed a villain in the story, and so they were perfect to pinpoint it. And I've always said this, that my problem isn't so much Airbnb; it's the hosts that are overly reliant on Airbnb. And what I did is I took Airbnb, because it's, again, such a big brand name, and I didn't toe the line. I was just a bit cheeky. And the billboard that you're talking about, I think I was on Reddit, and I saw this company called Blind Spot, and they basically rented billboard spaces, and you could hire it off them for a really cheap price. And they got famous because I think there was like this meme coin or something like that was going around, and they got it on Times Square, and I was like, oh, that looks kind of cool. So I just looked around to see what I could do. And the first experience I had with them, I was about to go speak at Nashville, a big event in Nashville, 1,000 people, all Airbnb rentalpreneurs. Everybody was there. My target market was there, and I was speaking in front of all these 1,000 people. And I thought, well, let me look to see if there's billboards in Nashville. And there was one near the venue on the highway, and I could hire it for like $100. It was so cheap, and it was up there for hours. And I got a guy who got a drone, put the drone up, and it's such an epic shot of Nashville in the background, the billboard, and the billboard said, "The guy that Airbnb doesn't want you to know about," and there's a picture of my face on this huge billboard. And I put that up on social media, and it got a bit of traction. And then on the stage, again, there's 1,000 people in the room. Every single one of them's on Instagram. People in there ranging from 1 follower to like 100,000 followers. I got on stage, and I got everybody to stand up. This is 2022. This is probably my best talk that I've ever done, and I'm never going to match it since. I got on stage with a shot, did loads of things. It's on YouTube somewhere. And I said, stand up and keep standing if 90% of all of your bookings come in from Airbnb. Like, quite a lot of people stayed standing. I said, congratulations, you don't have a job. So you don't have a business, you have a job, and Brian Chesky is your boss. And that got a bit of a reaction. That was clipped, and that was posted, and that went, again, it went around. And I got so much work. We got over $100,000 of bookings from that one talk alone. And that was another one of those hockey stick moments. So being cheeky, not overstepping the line, and having the villain, having the enemy, and just people think that I'm like, I've been saying it long enough, and the memes that we put out on the socials and stuff, people think that I absolutely despise that company, but I don't. I use it. I think it's pretty cool, but you got to have a good villain for your story.
I think it's about having fun as well, because there's so many ways you can differentiate yourself. And if you're trying to claim you're the best at something, not that many people are going to believe that. But if you can weave in personality, you can weave in story, and actually if having fun is one of your values, for me, that's what I've tried to do. I've never claimed to be the best copywriter, but it's like if you like a laid-back approach, kind of quite chilled-out approach, a bit introverted, a bit of fun in there as well, a bit of sarcasm, like that's personal branding, basically. So I don't see anything wrong with being a bit cheeky, being a bit fun, as you say, really.
Yeah, I agree. I think I learned this from Dan Meredith, actually, when I first got into the coffee with Dan world. Because when I first got going, I definitely feel like if I looked at the stuff that I used to put out, it was not me, and I like to have a bit of fun, and I learned this from Dan, where it's called infotainment. So you're giving people the education, but you're having fun at the same time. And I feel like, especially when you're speaking on stage or anything that you do, people don't really remember what you tell them, but they remember how you make them feel. And I definitely brought that into any talk that I do, or a webinar that we do, or Zoom. People don't just want to sit through a boring seminar education. They want to have a bit of fun. So when we do Zooms or we do live videos, I do like spin the wheel to win prizes and things like that, so people remember that. And I've always sort of brought that in, and I definitely feel that that's why people aren't going to buy off a meme that I post on Instagram, but they'll come into the world of Boostly on that. And then once they sit into this world, and now we've been going for nearly 10 years, we've got over 1,000 videos on YouTube. We've done nearly 800 podcast episodes. There's a binge load of content. There's a couple of books as well. So they can get involved that way. And it's like the fun that brings them in, and it's the education that keeps them around.
It's a good example of how most people buy into personal brands now more than they buy into big brands. So yeah, if you're buying a car, you want to buy from Ford, BMW, whoever you're buying from. But if you're having some kind of service like this, I think people they probably buy into you much more than they do to Boostly. I could be wrong about that. But I think,
you're right.
again, you look at, who has more followers on Twitter or X, whatever it is now, Tesla or Elon Musk? Well, Elon Musk has many more. Like there are celebrities who have companies. People don't know the companies, but they buy because of the celebrity. Yeah. And that for me is, again, the more, I'd hate to use a thing of like, oh, now we're in 2025, but being in 2025, I think personal branding is only going to get bigger, and highlighting your nuances, your quirks, even your character flaws, I think is massive in terms of building a business, I think.
Yeah. No, and there's pros and cons to it, right? Last year, a company came to acquire Boostly, and at the end of the day, got very far down the line, and I rejected it. But one of the things that they wanted was me to stick around because of the personalization that I've built within Boostly. And, at the first part, I was like, yeah, sound. But then once I dug into it and, I haven't got a clue about acquisitions and mergers and all of that. I do now. I read all the books and I've been in it. And it's a mad process to be in. 1 minute you're being told you're the best thing since sliced bread. The next minute they're literally ripping your whole company apart and, doubting every decision you ever made. But one of the things was, if I ever thought that I could just sell Boostly and totally exit, to say, sell it, here's it, walk away, it's never going to happen. But the pro is that people do join because of me. They'll see whatever content that we put out, speaking on stage, and how I interact with people, and there's pros and cons to it. And I've now come to the realization that I probably will never sell Boostly because of that, and I'm sound with that. I used to be ashamed when someone said, oh, you've got a lifestyle business, and I was like, no, I ain't got a lifestyle business. It's a company. I hire 60 people, for fuck's sake. But now I'm like, sound, if this is a lifestyle business, that means that me, the wife, and the kids, and I can have the opportunity to drive 3 hours to do this interview, drive back, do the school run, and we go on we go on trips away, and and that's a lifestyle business that makes an impact. Sound.
I'm very similar. I've come to terms with the fact that I will never sell my business, in terms of, I don't think anyone would want it, really. It's like, I could sell my list. Would I ever sell my list? No, I don't think so, because I don't want people selling shit products to my list. But I've basically made up my mind that I will make, passive investments another way. And if I want to build something and sell it, I'll do that separately to what I do, because I could still see myself doing this at 60, 70, if I get there, hopefully 80, 90 years old. And I think it's, as you say, there's nothing bad about having a lifestyle business. It's like, what matters more to you? And that's something that I wanted to touch on with yourself as well, is the whole aspect of having your Fridays off, traveling, that kind of thing. So how do you manage that, basically? I think a lot of people struggle with it. So what's the process for still running a very successful company while basing it around family?
So I've never had a business where I've not had kids. So there's the context of that, is I don't know any other way. And I'm very fortunate in the fact that my missus will literally pull me down a peg or two if I ever feel like I'm getting big-headed. Like when I did that talk in America, 1,000 people came off stage. It was like fucking David Beckham just walked in the room. I'm the British boy with a sax in the middle of Tennessee. Amazing. I get back home. Literally, as soon as I get back home, my wife is like, fucking baby, shat everywhere. 4-year-olds being a dickhead. Go, calm yourself down. So everything that I've done, the context is I've always had the family. I've always had the kids. When we worked in the family business at the bed and breakfast from 2012 to 2016, it was me and the missus. We're in the business with my folks, and we had Alfie. So I've always had like business while I've had the family. When we stepped away from doing the day to day and that, and Boostly was here, it was right. This is my own thing now. We're not chained to like having to work in this building, in this bed and breakfast 24/7. So everything that I do, and seeing it is remote, I can work around it. when I first got going in 2016, I thought that meant I had to get up at 4:30 every day, do the 5 o'clock till 9 a.m. fucking early dot. That didn't last. For people who do that, sound not for me, because I've got the kids waking up. I've got 4 kids, like 6 o'clock. The 2-year-old's up, and it's like, right, you're in dad mode now. So everything that I do is based around, and my routine has been merged, and it's constantly changing to be around that. You can't have a set routine. Like now, I've got an eldest who's started secondary school. Next year, my youngest, she'll be starting nursery at the school. So my routine will probably change there. But every hour that I build in, everything that I do is working around the school run. I love the school run. I love how in my little village, no one has a clue what I do. Like literally no one. Like as soon as I get online and I go into the Facebook group, say, oh, it's Mark at Boosley. But in the village, no one has a clue who I am or what I do. I love doing the school run, love having a natter. And I love being able to be part of that little village community that we have. In 10 years' time, when Rosie, the youngest, when she's going to secondary school, it may be different. I may be able to put more time to it if I want to, but that's how every single element of Boosley has been growing. And like I said, I could have made more money. I could have been having those, like, more money coming into my pocket. But instead of doing that, I gave up that money revenue, put it into staff and contractors. So that meant that as the business grew, it wasn't so much reliant on me to be doing all of the things. And I was really valued my time.
Love it. Talking about staff, I know we've spoken a bit about hiring copywriters. I know you've used some people before.
Yeah.
A lot of people watching this are going to be copywriters. So what does someone like you look for when you want to outsource copy?
So the first person that I hired was Lana Sova. And I reason why I hired Lana was on the back of your recommendation. So I would say it would be the network. So for me, it's people that I admire and look up to and respect, who I maybe couldn't afford. And I asked them, okay, so I can't afford yous, but who in your network or in your group do you recommend? And you put a few people my way, and I think I jumped on a call with a few, and it was just Lana that just stood out. I don't know if it was anything in particular. Maybe they sent across a few things that they did, but it was just having a chat, and we gave it a go. She was amazing. We worked together for years, and then I went to somebody who was more hospitality based in Neely Khan. Amazing, worked for a couple of years, and yeah. So it really is a case of recommendations, referrals, and just how you vibe with that person. That's what I've always done it. My hiring philosophy is what I go for a drink with this person, and and if it's like, yeah, I would sound, then we'll give it a go.
There's a lot to be said for that, and it links back again to the whole, maybe not personal branding, but I've always said to people, look, most business owners would rather hire a good copywriter who is on time, competent, goes above and beyond, and just easy to work with and fun, versus a copywriter who's slightly better, but is basically an arsehole. Like, that's the long and the short. I mean, not all the time, but certainly I think that's most people I know anyway.
People buy from people, and I think doesn't matter whether what service you are selling, people buy from people. And particularly as we go down this route now of where AI comes into everything a lot more, and robotics and everything, is at the end of the day, the way humans are, we will always buy from people. And I feel like that for me, and there's loads of different personality types. I know what my personality type is. I know who I get on well with. I know that who I got to surround myself with within the company. I don't want everybody to be similar to me. I do need somebody that is opposing to what my personality type is, because I don't want everybody to be a yes man, so to speak, or a yes person. But when it comes to copywriters, somebody like who is like a contractor who is going to be doing this sort of work, yeah, like you said, the exact core skill set that you said. And not everybody that will vibe with me, but if you don't vibe with me, that's fine. There'll be somebody there that you might vibe with better.
Yeah, definitely. And I have to say, you must have read my mind, because I was going to go on to AI stuff next, and you happened to mention it, because I know that some of the stuff you've sent me that you've tried with AI, kind of because you subscribe to my Frontline magazine, you've sent me stuff where you've put in like a template I've shared to AI and helped train it to be in your voice. And yeah, it's super advanced stuff, and it seems to get very good output. So what's maybe give us some cool stuff you've discovered with that, or what's your process with it?
Yeah, so I have gone down the AI rabbit hole, definitely. I love it. And what I try and do with everything is I look at everything that's out there, and I try and go, well, how can I translate this to the people that I'm helping, which is, hospitality owners who are trying to figure it all out. And with the Frontline magazine, what I love most about it is the templates that you do. So I'll take them, I'll literally go to the tiny URL that you give, I'll copy it blind, paste it into AI, and I just go, sound, use this and make it sound like me. And because I've been using ChatGPT now since November 2023, and now it's got this learning capability where it actually memorizes not just a singular chat, it memorizes all of your chats, which is mad because my Alfie, my 12-year-old, he's just got an iPhone, and we put ChatGPT on it, and he's got the same login as me. And so this AI must be so confused because it's chatting to me about business, and then my 12-year-old's going, design me a dragon that looks like a Pokemon. And it's like, it must be so confused. But when it comes to the templates, I load it in and I go, here it is, make this sound like something that I'd put out to the Boostly world. And you know what? It's not perfect, but 7 out of 10. It's better than me writing it with I haven't got a clue about copy. I literally type it like a caveman on there, and I'll just, before I had AI, now AI has come in, and ChatGPT, or whatever version you want to use, turns it into something that looks cool, sounds professional, and end of the day gets the person to open the email and then click it. But it needs something good to go off. Like, your templates are fantastic, and I take them, put them in, and go, this is the base. Now make this sound like for the Boostly world. And yeah, I've got one loaded, lined up, ready to go tomorrow.
And that's the thing with it, I guess, is that a lot of people will think, oh, I'm just going to put a template in and it will spin me out an email. Or even worse, they'll go, oh, write me a sales email to sell so-and-so. And you're like, that's not really how it works. But for people like you with the business, if you know your market, you know your pain points, your outcomes, obstacles, all that kind of stuff, as you say, you can get a 7 out of 10, an 8 out of 10 piece of copy very easily. And I would say to any copywriter, like, embrace that as well. Because actually, I was speaking to someone the other day, and he was saying, look, we can't really afford you to write everything, but I'm using AI. I'm getting stuff that I think is like okay, but it could be better. What would your fee be just for looking over everything I do every month and making it better? I'm like, okay, that seems to work as an offer. Gave him my fee. We're talking about doing that. So now I'm thinking, well, actually, that's not going to take me very long to do every month. And it gets him a result. Basically, if he makes one extra sale every 2 months, he'll pay my fee from that. So for him, it's a big win. For me, I'm still earning all right money. Not as much I'd earn from writing from scratch, but it's still good money for the time involved. Like, if you're a copywriter and you're thinking AI is going to take my job, well, it might take some elements of it, but actually, if you know how to use it and know how to position yourself, there's still loads of opportunities there.
I've always said that the cream always rises to the top. And yes, AI will get rid of 90% of crap, but the 10% will always be there. And you may have to pivot your offering. Like, I do website design. Like, if there is more of an industry that could be at threat of AI, is website design, because now you could literally go on and go, you like, see this website, just copy it, yeah. Right? So I'm pivoting in what we do. We are really focusing down on our API integrations that I spoke about. So this API connection that we have, without getting too boring, it connects booking platforms, not Airbnb, but the booking engines behind the scenes that power everything. So it connects them into our websites. And the reason why we created it is that when we started to get people who wanted to work with us that have got, say, 30 or 40 properties, copy and pasting all of that information from the booking engine into our website, it was very time consuming. So we created this API integration that with a click of a finger, we've got it synced in. So what we're realizing is that nobody else has these integrations. We're the only one that does. And we've now got 30 of these integrations to all of these cool platforms. So we're really focusing on that. And AI won't be able to replicate that. Doesn't matter what you do, because you've got to have the connections, you've got to have the network, the relationships, the actual relationships with these companies. So we're focusing on that. And for copywriters, it'll be the same. Yeah, you'll have to tweak your offering a little bit. Doesn't matter what you do, you're going to have to tweak your offering to be around it. Talking about that with what I've done is, so within OpenAI, within ChatGPT, you can actually create your own GPTs. So ChatGPT and OpenAI, LLMs, it's very generic. You ask a question on the homepage and it'll give you an answer based on everything that's out there in the world. So when you create your own GPT, it's specific to what you want to train it on. So when it comes to copy, I've had 2 years of working with Lana, 2 years of working with Neely. I had all of these emails stored in my active campaign as a template. I had maybe 100 emails. So all I did was I downloaded them as a PDF, trained this GPT on 100 PDFs of expert copywriters, and I just said, read every single thing here. So it's trained on it. So now when I want to create a new email, all I do is I go into the GPT and say, right, based on your knowledge, this is a template from Mike. Just make me something that I can use. And so it's trained on that. And again, like a copywriter, like the person that you're talking about, the offer you're thinking about, be like, it spits out this. Just go and have a look at it. Just tweak it slightly, make it sound a little bit less robotic, makes it sound a bit more human. And that's what I'm doing now. So for me as a business, I'm saving maybe $2 or $3 grand a month to do that. And I've got it trained on this GPT. And that's the example that I showed you with that Loom video that I sent. So that's how I'm using it as a business. There's loads of other cool things like video creation now with Sora and all those things that are going on. But that's the most important thing. The other thing that I'm doing that's really cool is I'm using Eleven's Lab, which is voice, so text to voice. And I've created a daily podcast that is being solely created by AI. And we've done 154 episodes, 10,000 downloads, and it just spits out onto Spotify and all those channels every single day. And all that we do, and I did it for the first week, and now I show my team behind the scenes how to do it, is I go on a couple of publications every day, like daily newsletters in the world of hospitality. I find 2 articles that are remotely interesting, copy it, both of them, spit it into ChatGPT, turn this into a podcast transcript, take the podcast transcript, put it into Eleven's Lab, turns it into voice, and that's your podcast. Takes 5 minutes. So I don't even do it now. I'll know if an episode's been done because I get it on my Spotify every day. And it's 154 episodes. It takes 5 minutes to do. Eleven's Lab, which is like $20 a month. ChatGPT, $20 a month. And we've got like 154 pieces of content created just like that.
That's mad. I think there's definitely no excuse for not putting out content now. And I'm not one of these people who's like, oh, you absolutely must have content and post 3 times a day. But if that is your business model, it's just, like I say, it's so easy. Like, I don't get why you would not leverage that.
I feel like the danger is that we're going to come to a case where everything is copy and paste. And that's the problem with AI, is that business owners will, and you can see it on LinkedIn all the time. If you see an emoji in a post on LinkedIn, 99% of the time, it's being done by ChatGPT. So what I encourage everybody to do is that, content is going to be so easy to do. It's not a case of, I've spent the last 10 years convincing Gen X, older millennials and baby boomers to post on social media. It's not a case of like, you have to, you need to, right? And so now it's a case of, yes, creating content, but the quality will shine through. I myself, like, we're guilty of it. We do the whole Gary V post 6 or 7 times a day, and most of it is crap, but it's to get people to, like, we'll fling all this shit out there and hopefully one thing will stick on the wall and draw them in. It's mostly memes, I'm not going to lie, but it works because I can see it when people book a sales call with us. It's how did you discover us? And it'll be guest on a podcast, guest on a YouTube. We've done like all these 1,000 pieces of content, and that's how they get into our world. But we draw them in with the content, and we stick them around with the education, which is obviously direct bookings. And we're very, very clear on who we're speaking to. I'm not speaking to copywriters or PTs or barbershops. I'm speaking to hospitality owners who have got 2 to 20 properties.
Yeah, and I think it's leveraging, if I can get my words out, that content for connection as well, like using the connection as a differentiating factor as opposed to necessarily the content as well.
Yeah.
Cool. So I want to wrap up with my 5 quick-fire questions in a minute, but any kind of parting words of wisdom, one bit of advice you give to someone who maybe they have a business idea but they don't know the first steps to get it off the ground, what would you say to them?
Just do it. It literally is that procrastination kills any good idea. And I mean, if I was to have sat on this idea of Boostly, it would never have happened. There's no... Like, you look at it realistically, if you were like doing a degree or anything from a business, there's no business plan. I just literally had an idea. I messaged 100 people. There's a tip in the Coffee with Dan group. I took it. It was a postcard thing. Someone said, write postcards and send postcards to people. I was like, brilliant, I can do that. I did it and I got work from it, and it just went from there. So just always be selling. Spend the first 30 minutes of every single of your day, whatever your working hours are, that first 30 minutes, use it selling something, whether it's writing an email, doing a post or whatever. Do that consistently every single day and you'll be sound.
Well, I'm probably going to bastardize the quote, but it's the whole Bruce Lee one about, I fear the man more who's practiced the same kick 100 times than 100 different kicks one time each, whatever. It's like that consistency is the real sort of thing that gets momentum. So definitely agree with that.
Nice.
Cool. So your 5 quick fire questions then. Number 1, if you could gift one business, marketing, copywriting or mindset book to someone starting their journey, what would it be?
Tools of Titan, Tim Ferriss. 100%. I love that book.
Very good choice. We're going for a coffee and I'm buying. What's your order?
Flat white.
Nice.
Flat white with now little cheeky oat milk in. My missus has got me onto oat milk. Makes it a little bit sweeter.
Nice. Yeah, see, I did a coffee course 2 years ago, I think. And they told us that full fat milk or oat milk are the best choices for a flat white. So there you go.
Oat milk tastes now lovely.
Nice. You're in charge of the internet and you can get rid of one social media platform. Which one is it and why?
TikTok. Don't use it. I don't use it. My missus loves it. When we get into bed at night, she shows me like funny videos she's seen on TikTok. I go, yeah, that sound, but can't stand it. I've got a channel on there. It's got 30,000 followers. I don't even post on it. I got someone to post for us. It's a mad thing. I got on it early, so that's where all these followers came from. But yeah, TikTok, been it.
Yeah, we're on the same page. That I don't use it. My dad, who's 63, uses TikTok. I'm like, I don't know what you're doing.
That's amazing.
Which 3 people, living or dead, would you invite to your ideal dinner party?
Jurgen Klopp, all the time.
Nice.
Love that man.
Easy one.
Yeah.
And finally, is Die Hard a Christmas film?
Yeah. Yeah, sound.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Cool. Like it. Nice one. Appreciate that, Mark. Really, value your time. Loads of great stuff shared there today. So if people want to get in contact, where's the best place to reach out to you?
Come have a chat on Instagram, Boostly UK. So Boostly UK on Instagram. Some fucker took Boostly years ago. Couldn't get it back. So yeah, Boostly UK.
Amazing. Love it. Cool. I shall whack that link down in the description as well. So as always, thank you very much for watching. I'll also put links in the description to my free templates, my free class, and the Freedom Kickstarter course. So if you're interested in any of that, feel free to click those links or send me a message. As always, likes, subscribe, shares, all that kind of stuff, very much appreciated. So yeah, thank you for watching, and we'll catch you on the next episode.